He always was happy when defending.
I think
Excuse me, boss. What team do you support? What, Chelsea?
Yeah.
Fuck Chelsea. Chelsea shit.
Yeah.
Fuck Chelsea. What?
Fuck
Amen.
you.
Fuck Chelsea.
Fuck you.
Fuck
twat.
Chelsea, pussy or what? Say something.
Go on,
Fuck
listen.
Chelsea.
Amen.
You
Fuck
twat.
Chelsea.
Away from the stupidness, people, deluded. I'm back again. By now, you already know what we do. You know, again, to be fair with you, DG feet the diff knock. I don't think we can talk to Saliba and Gabriel, but we're a decent partnership. How you doing, my friend, man? I see you going crazy on social media.
just gonna drink some Chelsea tears. Hang on.
I sip it, man. Back it like some shots, man. Need 100 more, mate.
Oh,
Never tastes so good.
so good, mate. That was so funny. So funny. Payback for the 1000th game. Payback for all
I
those.
wanted 7. I'm not happy.
Payback for Cesc. Everything, mate. Everything. Just I rarely do this, but last night I went on YouTube and just searched up Chelsea fans and just like
Yeah.
watched all of
Same.
them.
Same.
I was just
same.
like Rory Jennings, all the related videos, any of them.
Anyone did it.
I'll watch any of them.
The Rory, the Carefree Lewises of this world, Matisse as well, everyone. Any tears I could get, regardless of where they are in this world, I was loving it, man. Let's get into it, though, man. Obviously, Arsenal 5, Chelsea 0, clean sheet, raining goals. Kai Havertz celebrates, let alone scores a brace. Benjamin White doesn't watch football and he scored 2 goals. Martin Wondergaard was amazing. Before we get into individual performances, what did you make of the game? Obviously, the backdrop going into it this week's crazy for us. 2 London derbies.
Yeah, it's a funny one. This is the only negative thing I'll say about this game because it was so fun and there were so many positives. The first half, I didn't think we were actually that great. I thought Chelsea caused us a couple of issues, and I think if you look at the numbers, I think there's some number
That's
going
why
around.
Arteta wasn't happy, man. You could see him.
Yeah, there was some number going around about expected goals on target, i.e., like the quality of their shots or something. Which basically, but the XG, if you're into that kind of stuff, the XG itself was actually a lot higher than expected. Yeah, it was. The first half was a little bit concerning in terms of how we managed. Arteta was talking before the game to TNT about, he said like the runners off the second line, and I wasn't quite sure what he meant, but I think when I was watching it, I realised basically sort of the Partey, Rice, I suppose it would have been Trossard and Saka line of our press. In behind that, Mudryk and Madueke were making these sort of darting runs and diagonals, and Enzo and Caicedo weren't particularly good. We're finding them just in behind
Who
them.
are they?
And they were making those runs.
Never heard
These
of them.
guys, they spent a bit of money on them. Not much. But yeah, so that was causing a couple of issues. I thought we looked a little bit more vulnerable from set pieces than we have done. But that's the end of my concerned analysis. That was mainly just, just unbelievable. I thought the second half we came out, we got into a rhythm. We got our distancing a little bit better. I thought in the first half, he says he'd give it up. In the first half, I thought Partey and Rice they were brilliant individually, but hadn't quite worked out when one was going, one was staying. They were jumping at the same time and then tracking back at the same time. It wasn't quite there. But in the second half, the distances were all right. We were so good. Execution was so good. And Odegaard played left 8. So,
bro,
if someone stands in one position once, it doesn't make them a left. Oh, Ben White's our right winger. There you go,
bro. You said it there, man. And again, we'll get into Martin Odegaard because you love that lad as much as I do. Yeah, this is what I wanted to see, especially from that 3 that started that. We've been, we haven't seen too much this season. We flirted with it, obviously, mainly down to Partey's injury. When Odegaard has that freedom to roam into that left 8, to occupy that right-hand side, which is his bread and butter, you literally saw him involved in all actions. Like just before we've come live, I've watched the game 3 times now. I'm excited, you can tell. And for me, the second half was amazing. And you made a great point about 2 things. The first one, I would say, first half, I don't think we were terrible and I don't think we were lackluster, but for want of other words, I felt it was a bit of a slow first half, like you said there. I felt we was good in the final third. It felt like one of those games where we would be good in the final third, decent in the middle, but it's like we'd make a mistake or there'd be a brain fart, and that would be Chelsea's opening. I think Saliba was faultless, and I'm cherry picking, but there was a moment he kind of dilly-dallied on the ball. They countered attack. The only thing Saka did terrible yesterday was probably not scoring, but also that crazy kind of pass he did, which led to a corner. Maybe they were helping Chelsea out. And obviously, I look at the Bayern Munich game, I look at the Aston Villa game, in specifically the second half. If we're honest with ourselves, the first halves were indifferent. We fell off a cliff in the second. And as I said earlier, and I was doing a watch along, the thing that encouraged me is Arteta's moving like Pep. You see it with the conversations that he's saying after in relation to they're so good, basically. But he did not look happy. Like, maybe he's genuinely not happy. Maybe it's acting for cameras, which I don't agree. But he didn't look happy. And I feel second half, we slaughtered them, really. I think he made minor tweaks towards Odegaard and Rice and Partey, like you said. And I think he just reiterated to the players, the job's not done. It's 1-0. You need to kill their hope. You need to kill their optimism. They want to come and spoil your day. And it just reflects what we've been doing. You know, we've got a great record against the top six. For me, I know I'm cherry picking, but I'm happy with the clean sheet because we haven't really done that at the Emirates, and the Emirates has been filled with drama, but there was none in that regards, man. What do you think this means for our title aspirations then? Because as I said, it's a massive week. Chelsea trying to spoil our day. Spurs hope to do that on Sunday. Where are you at, man? Does it change much, or does it make you more bullish?
I think after the Villa game, I said the only thing we can do is be 4 points clear of City next time they play. That's all we can do, and we had to respond. What I'm pleased with is we've done something new this year in terms of we haven't had that kind of April crash. You can't call this an April crash. Yes, we had two moments, obviously, against Villa and against Bayern Munich. But, you know, if we take them actually in isolation, they are in different competitions, first and foremost. And against Bayern Munich, that's our first time back in the Champions League. We can discuss that if you want, but it's, you know, there's...
Oh, we will. I got my notes, man. I've been preparing all week for you, fella.
There's reasons for that. And then the Villa game, you know, there's essentially what we were asking for was Arsenal to win or not lose since about December, the end of December, was it end of December we last won, something like that, to the end of the season. If Man City win this and we win the rest of our games, they will have had to go on the best run they've ever been on in the Premier League since December. So if we make the best team in the world, and in my opinion, the best manager ever, go on the best run they've ever been on in a league that they've won, 5 out of the last 6 or 6 out of whatever it is. I can't remember. Forget what it is these days.
They turned it into a Farmers League. That's the short.
And do a 4P. I'm okay with that. And I think we can take the pressure off ourselves and say, look, obviously, the problem is these two can exist at the same time. Obviously, we can improve. There are areas that we can improve. We look at ourselves and there are obviously areas that we can look at. But in the big context of the sport itself, Arsenal would win. Arsenal, I am so sure of this, would win Liga. They'd win the Bundesliga. They'd win the Europa League. They'd win everything. Genuinely, I genuinely believe they'd win every other league apart from probably the Champions League and the Premier League in terms of the quality that we have. You know, we can improve ourselves. But yeah, so I'm, you know, look, in terms of the title race, we're so close. We know we are. It's now about going and really clearly isolating what are the things that are stopping us just getting over that line. But we have to remember that line is set by the best team of all time, arguably in the Premier League. So, you know, it's not to make excuses. We have to make that jump. That's our level. That's what we want to get to. And, you know, you don't see Arteta making excuses. And I don't want to. But we also have to take in the context and understand that that's what we are.
You said it there, man. You know, what annoys me about football is two truths can't live in the same realm. You can, on one hand, you know, have admiration for what Arsenal are doing, the trajectory we're on individually and collectively and all that stuff that me and you on our channels and together speak about. But you can also look at the margins, because we are there where I think we're in that territory now where marginal gains make the maximum of difference, if that makes sense, whether that's bringing in certain players, addressing certain areas and just really scrutinizing ourselves. Because, again, I said it again, I think YouTube's randomly started playing. But as I was saying, yeah, I mean, we got Vibes Cartel. But as I was saying, it feels like that the only enemies are ourselves. Because I'm not saying this to say Arsenal are the biggest and bad team in the world, but I think the only two poor performances where there's zero positives for me would be Fulham away and West Ham in the League Cup. Other than that, it's probably been a bit indifferent. Even when we've gone out to Bayern Munich, there's evident areas we could have done better, but we've competed and whatnot. You touched on it there, yeah. And before we go back over to Arsenal versus Chelsea, you've probably seen it. You know, as you said, we've been winning every game this year. We can't expect to win them all. That's not how football works. But Mikel Arteta out, Brigade are back. And for what it's worth, disclaimer to anyone listening, I'm not saying you can't blindlessly back Arteta if you see evidence. I'm not saying you can't say the man's not good enough if there is evidence. But as you know, there's a short reaction. Us, we're a massive club. 3 games was the worst team since sliced bread. Where are you at with the Mikel Arteta thing? Because for me, there are genuine question marks over Arteta. But if you cannot see that this is the man for this job and where we're going, I don't know what to tell you at this point. And I'm not saying he shouldn't be scrutinized, but come on, man. Like, you just got to use your eyes. Stevie Wonder could see this, man. But where are you at with that?
You said it. You know, it's frustrating that 2 things can't exist at the same time. You say you point out all the positives, and you know the first response is, well, you know, look at all the negatives. Essentially, it's like no one's denying that Mikel has a way to go. Not even the most ardent Arteta in supporter, if you want to put it that way, is saying there's no positives. And probably on the Arteta outside, they'd probably say there are some things that, you know, maybe we play good football or whatever, but we just can't get it over the line. But the thing is I think people, maybe the one thing that gets reduced down, well, maybe 2 things. We see getting over the line, in quotes, as a 50-50. We either did or we didn't, rather than seeing it in what it is, which is it's a 99th percentile outcome. It's not something that happens. For most teams don't get over the line. It's not something that, like, you know, we just can't get it over the line. I think this comes in, most teams don't. In context, it's because I think of where we are. We've been here for 20 years and we haven't ever, you know, quite got it over the line in terms of the Premier League or the Champions League. And that is frustrating. And no one's pretending that it's not frustrating. But this is a new regime. We have to judge them with fresh eyes. It's like judging the Cronkies for their time from 2006. You take it into account, of course, or 2007 when they came in. You take it into account.
No, you was right first time. You was definitely right first time. 06 is when it started. 07, I think they got their shares. But anyways,
yeah. But to not acknowledge, and even then, Mikel was at the club as a player, but he wasn't, you know, even an assistant coach. He's completely fresh. This is a completely fresh team. Yeah, and as you say, there are question marks. There are things we can improve, and perhaps we should discuss that. But look, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And I'm not saying it in a kind of, you know, throw my hands up in the air. I would love to talk to someone who's still Arteta out and really understand why. Because I at this point I don't understand the argument. I think I used to get it. I used to be like, yeah, okay, I can see, you know, they've got a couple of arguments. But at this point, like, the only thing you have is he didn't beat Pep. That is the only thing you have. So I don't really get it.
I'm with you with that. I think the only things I could say with Mikel Arteta, and this is just speaking for myself, I feel even for people like me and you that, you know, wax lyrical about Arteta, in the same way I rate Bukayo Saka, if you do something great on the football pitch, I'm going to wax lyrical. So ultimately, you're going to live or die by those high standards. I rate Mikel Arteta as one of the best young managers in the game. You've said it all in relation to the project and where we're going. You can see how we are now from when he took over to at this point. Because I rate you so much, and I think your keyword meticulous, when I see things around, you know, I do think there is a correlation between not having the biggest squad and at times being out of steam. Potentially, you know, he talks about finding internal solutions, and I'm not dissing Kai Havertz. He's been a good sign and he's done the business, but probably need a striker. Again, I'm not a fly on the wall. I don't know everything at London Coley, but because I rate Arteta so highly, that's where I look at it. And I do think the conversation, I think people need to be patient, like you said, but I do think the conversation is slightly shifting to, can we get over the line? Or better yet, let's not say over the line, because there's many metrics to judge where we're going. Winning a Premier League. For me, Champions League, if you can do that, great. I don't quite think we're there yet, but a Premier League trophy. And it's a double-edged sword. It's like grabbing a knife, really and truly, because on one hand, as you can see, the last 2 years, he's found different solutions. Players are improving. We're improving in all aspects. He keeps people guessing, but you can't afford to lose games or draw games, especially when you're playing this monster of a City side and Liverpool in the backdrop, which is almost like he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't kind of thing. So for me, it is that. And for me, it's a thing where I want to see Arteta take gambles, but in the summer, for example, I want less gambles, bro. Like, you know, big up Kai Havertz. He's part of the squad and stuff. But we can evidently see now, we're not Arteta. We don't know football like him. But you can see you need a forward. You can see you need another winger. You can see you need that linchpin in midfield if Partey can't consistently be fit, and then marry the squad. So that's where I'm at with it. Do you think there is a correlation though between we're using the same 11 to 15 players, and there are times, especially this part of the season, where players look a bit spent. Because I actually felt in the first half against Chelsea, if I'm honest, I wouldn't say we was tired or knackered, but you could see we've played a lot of games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but Arteta didn't take Saka off, and he sort of kept a lot of the players on, even when it was sort of 3-4-0, which I thought was a bit of a. I mean, it might be
Trying to get
because
Saka a goal, man.
Yeah, possibly. I thought, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder whether substitutes are a slight message. I don't know. But
They got Fabio. Finally saw him again.
Maybe projection. Yeah, exactly. But our next game's on Sunday. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 days recovery and rest. I think that's enough at this. For the players, you're not gonna fix a season worth of accumulated minutes in 4 days, whether you take them off at 70 minutes.
Who cares about? To be honest with you, sorry to cut you, bro. Who cares about who's not getting minutes? If life was fair, we'd all have a lot less. The best players have to go out there, which they did against Chelsea. So I don't, me, I would love everyone to get minutes, but where's the business end of the season? Who cares?
Yeah, and that's exactly in the sense that we've got to look at the whole season and how we manage the whole season. And I do think I will say, I said it in a recent video, I think the physical aspect of the squad is at play. It's how big it is, whatever. But you can see. I think I looked at Ben White in that last 10 minutes against Bayern Munich, and I'm like, nah, mate, you're flagging. And that's no shade to Ben White. That's just that he's played so much football this season at such a high intensity. I think there was an Opta analyst article that came up, and it was all about sort of how many days recovery between games and stuff. And Arsenal, City, and Liverpool have some of the lowest in Europe. And also, if you could consider the way, but actually Liverpool, but then you look at their injuries, and that probably explains a lot of it. But you look at the intensity that Arsenal play within their press, and how some of their attacking style is.
The training sessions, let alone the games, because
the training sessions. Yeah, and the intensity of the league itself. The Premier League is it's massive. I don't know if you saw that clip of Bernardo Silva talking about his concerns about the fixture schedule. Look, I understand they're millionaires aspect of it, and I understand you didn't care when Klopp said it. It's not fine, but it's not about that. It's not about that. It's about
the guinea pigs.
It's about the protagonists of our sport telling you, looking you in the eye, and saying, we are knackered. We've played too much football, and it's not. If they played 5 games less a season, it will probably sort them out. It's not. They're not asking for a 19 game Premier League season. When you don't play home and away, they're asking just for a couple of games less, and then you go, the rotation with Pep. But you'll only listen to Pep. You'll only listen to Bernardo. You won't listen to Chris Heckingbottom. You won't listen to Lyle Foster, will you? So what do you want? Pep literally himself said, I'm only saying it to you because we won, because it would look like an excuse if we lost. So yeah, it's a concern. And I look at that's a conversation, a general conversation that needs to be had with the FA and UEFA or whatever, and not by me. But in terms of the Arsenal squad, I do think it has been an aspect. How big it is a question, but it definitely has been at play.
And I would also throw in as well, for me, something with Mikel Arteta. And again, I'm not a fly on the wall. For instance, in the summer, I don't know if we tried to bring in additional players to address certain areas with conversations we're having. I can only comment on what I see naively as a fan. Big up Tomiyasu, boss of a performance, and Partey as well. But when I say those names, you've probably said it in your head, injuries. And injuries happen. I'll never get onto a player for being injured, but it feels like the same old story year in, year out around key players. So without getting at the players individually, collectively, that's something I want Mikel Arteta to learn from, because we're flirting. And again, the last 2 years, we've announced ourselves in the summer, we're finished. It was a fluke. It was this, that, and the other. Fair enough. We're doing all right for a fluky team, an overrated team with a certified left back as a right winger. We're doing all right. But the landscape is not always going to be like this. The other teams that are kind of struggling are going to hit back. You know yourself, the path to success is never like that. There's going to be a wobble. And I know Mikel, the one thing I like is what you said, is Mikel Arteta is not complacent. I think he's got admiration for what he's achieved, but I always get a sense of urgency. I don't think he's happy, if that makes sense. But I do feel we're at that ground now where naturally you either kick on or you go back. I don't think stagnation really exists. It's either forward or backwards. You're never just stationary. So we're going to have to see in that regards, man. So how are you feeling about the Premier League, honestly, then? Like, in your heart, like 4 games left, bit of optimism after battering Chelsea. I'm not asking you to come out and proclaim with chest we're going to win it and whatnot, but What's the thoughts,
Well,
man?
unfortunately, I'm not a big Arsenal fan. I think City will win it. I've said it from the beginning of the season. I've backed it the whole way. My prediction was City first, Arsenal second, Liverpool third, and I'll stick with it because all we can do is win our games from this point. As I say, it would have taken a historic run for Arsenal.
Still might not be enough as well.
To exactly, and possibly even if we'd beaten, Villa, who knows? We dropped one more point. Maybe it'd been a draw away to United on the final. Who knows? We can only look back and say at the end of the season and assess it properly. But yeah, I think City are going to push themselves to another level. They are
monsters, man.
The reason we all felt so dejected at the end of that Aston Villa game is we knew what was going to come.
Yeah,
that's why in any other Man United won the title with 75 points.
Yeah, that's not this day and age anymore.
Aren't we on 77?
I think we've gone well past 75 points. Well, we're on 77, as you said. I don't look at the league table, but yeah, shows you.
Yeah, we're on 77 points.
Ridiculous.
Like Man United, and by the way, quite comfortably, I think that year. Like the levels that it takes to win this league now, not only from the competitive levels,
evolving, man.
Exactly, yeah, but and the physical demands on the players and the tactical demands, and this league is so hard. It's so hard. All we can do is win our games. And if of course that Villa game is going to hurt, but to me, it's less about the Villa game. It's more about those Fulham games.
What game would you say? Like, assume we win all our games. Like worst case scenario is that we win all our games. Is still not enough. When we look back at this 38 game calendar, what is the games, or in fact, you know what? That's too difficult. 2 games where you think, boy, they're the ones I'm not happy with.
Yeah, the home and away against Fulham. We should be cruising at home. And then we make a silly mistake and probably put the nail in the coffin of Ramsdale's Arsenal career. Because
you got right for the Golden Glove.
Because you literally can't make those mistakes. Say you can't make those mistakes and you move on. No, you can't. You actually can't make those mistakes at this level because of who we're playing against, Man City.
Yep.
So if you want to win the league, so that's that's put paid to him. And then away, I thought we were absolutely abject away at Craven Cottage and showed absolutely nothing.
Shit.
Showed absolutely nothing. So, that was so poor. Obviously, then you look at, could we have approached things slightly differently? The Etihad, could we have, nicked something at Anfield? Those aren't the games for me. It's the Fulham, it's West Ham at home, where again we were really, really poor. The games you mentioned, those sorts of games, and we could be on, we could be nearing 100 points if we won those.
It's the harshest thing about life, man. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. We could only deal rather than what if, what is. And for me, I would say Fulham. Fulham at home kind of shows the ugliness of Arsenal. If I had to criticize where we're at this moment in time, I would say for me, beyond the obvious, it's a difficult one because, there's been games we've been better in the first half and terrible in the second, probably like Aston Villa. For me, I would say West Ham at home because we had a billion chances, couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. I'd actually say North London derby, and maybe even the very game we've been reviewing in the Chelsea game, because I think we had a terrible 45 minutes and to an hour, and I think Arteta actually learned not to play Jorginho and Zinchenko based on that game. West Ham, undoubtedly, they were there for the taking. And I just think the Spurs game, we shot ourselves in the foot. Obviously, Declan Rice came off. Big up Jorginho because he's been a key part of this team, but obviously that happened. So for me, if you had to press me for an answer, I'd say West Ham. Let's circle back over this game, and get into some individual performances. Thomas Partey, we know the man's quality. We know the baggage he comes with. Yesterday, it's a bit unfortunate because I think he has a claim to be man of the match, but watching the game again, I think Odegaard cooked. I think Kai's up there. We'll get onto them. But what did you make of Thomas Partey, man? As he played his way into the North London derby starting 11, like that midfield trio is amazing.
He's got to start for me. He's got to start. Yeah, mate, he's, especially against Sarr, if he's playing, because Sarr's that similar sort of leggy player. He's so good, mate. He's so good. He's one of people talk about, what do you do with it in the future? For me, I think you let his contract run out and you keep him here next year because not at the expense of a signing, but if unless there's some crazy offer, I think we keep him here in the El Neni role, essentially. The player who is sort of the sixth man in that midfield. And if he can play, then great. If he plays the same amount of minutes as El Neni, then fine. He's a fantastic footballer. So if we can layer on top and still keep him, which is a question, then I think we'd be in a great position. And he may stay fit. Who knows? Probably won't, but who knows?
Right, I don't know. I was with you until you said that. I don't know, man.
There's a dream.
Hustle separately, man.
The how quickly the ball comes out of his feet. He's so progressive. He's always got a picture. When the ball's coming into him, he's always got a shoulder check. He's always turning.
Always on a half turn.
He's always going on defensively. He just sticks that leg out and sort of hooks it off you.
They call him the octopus, isn't it?
It's so good. It's so good. That sort of telegraph ball he's got out to Saka was on display again, mate. He's superb. And the big thing watching it yesterday was, as I say, I think there was a little bit of maybe disjointment between him and Rice, but that would come over the course of the season. But imagine a 38-game league season with Rice, Ødegaard, and Partey and Timber.
I mean, only City, Timber as well. We'll get onto him. I think only Manchester City, if anything, could talk to us really. And I think on form, not necessarily ability, collectively, we might have the best trio there. It's got everything. Honestly,
mate, I think we win the league by 5 points with that team. If we've been this good this season, obviously it would have been a different season. We might find other issues in our team, but if we had the season we had and added them in important parts.
That's his second start in 8 months. And it's a shame with Partey, man. I think for me, we've spoken about this. I do think we'll sign a midfielder. I think we need an 8 as a minimum. If it was up to me, and it kind of disregarding Partey for a second, I'd bring in another 8 and I'd bring in a 6. Now, Declan Rice is durable. I'm not saying to get rid of him. There's just been times he needs a rest and obviously the option to close out games. For me, that trio of Ødegaard, Rice and Partey has everything. It's thunder, ice, lightning. You've got Ødegaard doing what Ødegaard does. You've got Rice being what Rice does. And I think with Partey, I can't really explain it. And again, I'm not a fly on the wall. I'm not listening to what the players are saying, but if anyone that's played football, sometimes when you've got your friend in Sunday League or whatever, and they're very good, it raises everybody's standards. It's like Ødegaard was gambling already, but it's like he's gambling because he knows Partey's behind him. Rice kind of has that freedom. I think that was probably more reflected. It could have been against Wolves. I might be wrong, but I think Partey came on against Wolves and it looked like Rice had a caffeine boost. I just think Partey's a great facilitator, and you do a great job with your edited videos and whatnot. Check them out, folks. Passing lanes, with Partey, there's a lot more passing range and lanes. That obviously means the Sakas and these guys stay further up the pitch. Like even the first goal, where it's a good passage of play. I think Saka's found Ødegaard's found Partey's found Rice. Rice is driven forward. Trossard's done the business. That is what I want to see. That is what I want to see as a minimum, man. And you said it there. It's all the other baggage with Partey on paper, quality player. All the other things, I don't know. What did you make of Tomiyasu? Because I actually feel, obviously, when you win 5-0 and all the context is, no one's really going to speak about Tomiyasu. And I don't want to speak about certain other left-backs, big up Timber, who would love to see back fit and scored a great goal. But Tommy, man, great game from him.
Yeah, good game in the final third, actually. I thought it was solid, and he looks a lot more two-footed than I remember him to be.
Remember Arteta said he's two-footed, man. I thought you listened to the press conferences.
They did target him quite a bit, actually. And there was a couple of moments that Madueke got the better of him. If we're sat here in a parallel universe wearing different clothes, we might be talking about Tomiyasu mistaken a Chelsea 2-1 win. I'm not wishing that into existence, and I'm not trying to be negative.
Oh, you're letting me down, man. You're like them people that get at Kirill for Bernardo going past him. Like, it happens, bro.
And I'm just saying that, I don't know. I think it's very hard to jump into games at this intensity at this stage of the season and expect flawlessness. You're going to have a bit of
100%.
Saliba and Gabriel, they're in a rhythm. Ben White's in a rhythm. Ben White was ridiculous. Tomiyasu is a brilliant defender, and arguably, I was watching him last night, and I was saying, he's not maybe our best player in build-up. He's not maybe a left back in build-up. He's not maybe our best left back. Probably, tucking inside. He's not maybe our best left back, in certain areas, but overall, in all phases, he might be our best left back.
I can't lie. I'm willing to stick my neck on the line. Timber. I know there's no body of work. Yeah, but you're right though.
Excluding Timber, in terms of
getting my stocks in from early.
In terms of Kivior and Zinchenko,
Oh, 100%.
I think Tomiyasu, in terms of all phases, if you look at him across, in different situations,
Good all-rounder.
1v1s, build up, etc., I think he probably is our best left back overall. Just depends what type of game you're trying to play. So I think he was brought in probably for Cole Palmer, and I think he did well. Yeah, it's the thing with Tommy is always going to be, can you stay fit? I think he's played something like 600 minutes for Japan this season and 800 minutes for Arsenal. It's like, mate. And we've given him the contract. We clearly don't feel that the injury issues are a major concern. That one thing I will say with Tommy is he always has different issues. It's not it's not Partey's hamstrings every single time. It's with Tommy it's a calf, then it's an ankle, then it's a leg, then it's a foot, then it's always slightly different issues. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
What do you make of Timber, man? Because obviously, again, I feel me and you are very aligned with this, and that again, I don't want to sound like the bearer of bad news, but I urge caution. I hope he can play some part of the season. I describe him as a unicorn. You've probably seen his Eredivisie stats in the final third. The man's a physical unicorn, and obviously, Arteta has to find internal solutions. Injuries happen, but I do think, that really put a spanner in the works of what Arteta wanted to do in the summer. When you couple that with Havertz's initial struggles in midfield, I do think there's a correlation with that. And Martinelli's inconsistent season, not yesterday, but ultimately not looking that good down the left-hand side. What do you think of Timber's potential return for what's left of the season and moving forward?
Yeah, I was watching that U21 game against Blackburn, and he is...
What a goal.
I was sat right here, and I went like, ah! Just immediately picked up my phone and was like, ah!
It's time to get to feet. Same.
Exactly. Yeah.
Put the word out, we're back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the way he receives, how sharp he is. Mikel's spoken about him in the final third in terms of the qualities that he brings, and he says, he's got qualities that no one else in the squad has, and I think that's about the underlap. I think it's about, if you watch him for Ajax, both sides, he can receive it back to goal and turn in that sort of early half space and then move forward
as well, man.
He's so sharp. He's such a good player. The way, you watch it, the way he receives, the way he can turn himself, to be that sharp after an ACL is really impressive. He didn't look fit, by the way. He looked like he needed some time, and
naturally.
I hope he's in the squad for Spurs. I hope we get a 3-0 win and he can play 5 minutes at the end and just knock a ball about and see him back.
Park, man.
Well, I think you can manage it and see how the game feels, but I suspect we won't see him starting a game for Arsenal this season.
Oh, same.
I do think we might get some minutes. Hopefully, last game of the season, we might get sort of half. It's a shame because I thought we'd have him back earlier, but you can't rush these things. And there was it was always the moment he got the ACL. Timber's going to be better next season. There's no. We might have got something out of him. People are saying, "Oh, he's going to be back for Porto. He's going to be in the starting 11 for Porto."
Man.
You're dreaming. And look, we were all hopeful. I remember thinking, let's hope he's there. But the idea that was actually going to happen, and in reality, was a very small chance. So yeah, look, he is going to change the fortunes of a lot of our left-hand side, which has been massively bypassed this season. I think you look at Martinelli, you look at Zinchenko. Obviously, Kivior's had good periods of the season, but maybe not sustained it. I think had we had Timber on our left-hand side, mate, we would have been having very different conversations about Martinelli. I think we'd have different conversations about Declan Rice. I think we'd be having different conversations about Kai Havertz. Loads of different things. Timber, that sort of defensive cog, someone who can do what he does, take it, go on the underlap, attract markers, play those 1-2s, go on the outside, go on the inside. That buzziness, that sharpness that he has, that had to be part of Mikel's idea for this team moving forward. So yeah, next season's so exciting.
Bang on the money, man. And obviously, we can only deal with what's in front of us, right, versus what if. But kind of like the conversation we just had about Partey. If Partey was fit, Tomiyasu there on a more regular basis, Timber, we're having very different conversations. And I do expect to see Timber primarily play at left back. But naturally, as you said, there he's a versatile player. Who knows? There could have been occasions Benjamin White's legs could have been rested. I do think it's interesting, though, because, again, what the rumours say and what we actually do are very different things. But it still seems like Arsenal want to address that left-hand side regardless of Timber, but I'm here for all of the options. And I wonder where it is. I wonder where Mikel Arteta ranks the fullbacks on the left-hand side, because I think he's learned from Pep Guardiola in the sense of When Zinchenko's playing inverted, he's obviously a great player, but he's not strong enough 1v1. And I know everybody's running a lot of jokes about Arsenal and City having about 1 million defensive players on the pitch and stinking out the place. But you need to be able to have that nitty and gritty stuff. Like this, when we last spoke, that's why I wasn't surprised at going to the Etihad and getting 0-0s, because we've shown we can do that kind of thing. So I'm interested to see what happens there. We can't talk about fullbacks and not speak about Benjamin White. You know, I don't think he would win it. And I don't know where we'd go. And I think if anyone wants to look at Mikel Arteta's progress, you go back a couple of years. If I ask you for your player of the season, before my sentence has even left my mouth, you're going to say Bukayo Saka. Now it's Saka. Now it's Rice. Now it's Gabriel. Now it's potentially Saliba. Now it's Benjamin White. He deserves his flowers, man. And to be fair, in August, you know, Tommy was the guy. Obviously, Zinni, off the back of last season, was first choice. Timber's come in. He's reacted well, man. The man's a warrior. You don't need to watch football when you behave like this. Southgate needs to come out and say sorry. You need him for the Euros. Need him for the Euros.
He's so unbelievable. He might be, if you went right, final third combinations, 1v1, build up, set plays. If you went through all the things that you can do in a football match, throw-ins, like every single phase of play, shithousery, anything you can do in a football match, who's the best at it in Arsenal squad? As a kind of average, Ben White's up there, mate.
He's an all-rounder, 100%.
He genuinely is up there as maybe one or two. Like he you know, players have different strengths and stuff. This guy can play centre-back to, I think, probably a maybe not a sort of world class. I think Saliba and Gabriel, in terms of their size and speed and they're running over their shoulder, I think he get done a little bit. So I think it's right to move him out centre back. I'm not saying he can't play centre back to a good level, but he could probably play centre back to a top 4, maybe top 3 level, right?
God forbid, but he could fill in if something happened to us.
Yeah, of course.
Let's not even talk about that. I don't want that to happen again.
And we'll get a centre back who's more fitted to what we want. But you know, he can do that, and we saw. You know, he played, and you know, I appreciate we kind of fell apart at the end, but that's because of injuries. He played centre back to a top 4 level a couple of years ago. So to come into a right back position and be better. And be better in this position.
Revert back to a right back role and play it very differently to what Arteta demands of someone like Bielsa. You're bang on the money, man.
Yeah. In the sort of 3 on that side. What I love is, I tweeted about this last night. He used to be in that sort of pod on the right hand side of White, Ødegaard, and Saka. He used to be the sort of the wall pass. It was sort of the guy
I saw your tweet about that. Yeah,
he'd be there. But it would be Saka would knock it into him and he'd get it back out of his feet.
Give a goal,
whatever. But now White is the protagonist a lot of the time. He's either, you know, obviously he's always been making the runs, but he's either making the runs or he's passing the ball inside, or he's telling Saka where to stand, or Ødegaard's getting his ideas off his run or whatever it might be. If you watch that now, it looks like 3 players who are, you know, it's, I'm not saying, you know, but you know, when you used to watch like Busquets, Xavi and Iniesta, and just that rotation there, I'm not.
That is our hub. Let's know you're bang on the money, man. That is the hub of Arsenal at the moment in time.
Yeah. I'm not comparing them quality wise, but you know the rotation, the 3 of them are kind of indistinguishable.
Guess your laptop agrees as well, man.
What did I do there?
I don't know, man. You did something like that. I don't know if it was the farm or that. I don't know what you did, man. That happened when I was live with Jess as well. I don't know what it is.
I think you can do this, and then it gives you a thumb. It normally gets me a little thumbs up anyway. But yeah, the how smart he is in the final third when you consider where he used to play. It's like seeing Saliba now. And like we come back in 2 years' time, and he's our left back. It's like it's just
crazy.
Mental. It's mental.
And what people don't give Benjamin White credit for, and again, how far credit goes, I don't know, because at the end of the day, you're playing for Arsenal, you're playing with an innovative manager like Arteta. You have to have a level of competency to undertake whatever information he's giving you and replicate it. But you listen to Benjamin White, how he speaks, you know, getting into number 10 positions and all the facets that come with being a right back. I don't think people give him credit. Like, I'm not going to go as far as to say it's the hardest role in this Arsenal team, because I'd have to speak to the players. But I don't think there is a harder role than being a fullback in a Mikel Arteta system. You have to contribute in all phases. You kind of have to do everything. And obviously, I didn't know we was going to go and win 5-0. And I don't really rate Mudryk like that based on his form. But I thought for Benjamin White, I backed you because you've shown it. But I thought anyone who's played Sunday League, if you're playing someone who's quick, it kind of harms your game because you have to, kind of time when you're going to venture forward. You don't want to get caught in a foot race. Now, obviously, it transpired that wasn't a thing, but I've got nothing but respect for Benjamin White. Odegaard, though. Talk to me, man. There's no way I'm going to get you here and we're not going to have a sentiment or segment on Martin Wondergaard, the class region, 30-odd million quid, world-class player in the making if he isn't already, man.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going about all our players at the minute. Yeah, mate.
People still don't believe in Arteta, my guy.
Well,
it's crazy.
Yeah, look, I watched the comp of him last night before I went to sleep. I was in bed on my laptop and I was watching the comp of him and I was like, it's like a highlight reel. It was like every involvement, but it was like, I'm sure you saw it. I think it's been taken down now. It was like a highlight reel. Every touch is so purposeful. It's dynamic. The detail on his passing, he's putting it to the right foot, to the right weight at the right time, in the right consistency with the right tempo. He's the hub of our team in so many ways in a front three. Sorry, not our front three. In our forward five. He's everything flows through him. He does everything. He leads our press. He leads our forward play. He leads us in the final third, getting us up the pitch. He's our captain. Like I'm sure people are aware that there's quite a big Arsenal account that talks about getting rid of him.
I saw you go for him. Changing him around, whatever it is.
But look, I'll name it. No new thing. Look, I really respect that guy. By the way, I think he has really good. I think I find the style of his tweets a little bit bizarre sometimes.
Yeah, I got no problem with it. I don't really see it. I'm not, me, I'm not really one to be in the Arsenal Twitter. I don't really see his tweets. I just see your tweet. I was like, right, you're going after everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, but look, he's a really smart dude and has really good opinions and a lot of things that he says I agree with. But the Odegaard thing, it's mad. We're watching this guy going, well, he needs to be a left 8. Look how he just played from the right.
Look at one of the goals where he ran from the right to the left. He needs to be a free. Obviously, there's structure, but he needs to be a free spirit, essentially.
He needs a free roll from the right, where and look, I'm not against playing on the left, but the idea that he's a bum on the right, or he's completely, he's
he was referred to as a bum on the right hand side.
He's holding our team back. It's like, mate, come on. So
that's crazy.
Look, I just think he's extraordinary. I think he's extraordinary. I think he's so committed. He's such a good example. Imagine being an academy player looking up at Martin Odegaard right now to see what it takes to play for Arsenal. Imagine being Wanyeri or
a lot from him. Boy.
Yeah, imagine being Wanyeri or Lewis Kelly. We've wanted these. How many years have we said, Man City or Real Madrid or whatever, Roy Keane, where are the young players? Where are the leaders in the dressing room?
Yeah. If all else fails, bro, you need to go and do the mimicking voices. There's Arteta, there's Roy Keane. You're lit at that.
When my football career fails, I'll go do that. But the example he sets for those players is absolutely incredible. And to see him blossoming, coming into his prime, because what is 25 now? I think he's 24, 25. The next 3-4 years are going to be wondrous with Martin Odegaard. And Arteta also said on TNT that it was not an Edu signing, but Edu really pushed for him. So credit to Edu.
Credit to Edu. And I think, for a lot of younger fans out there that didn't see the Cesc Fabregases and the Dennis Bergkamps and didn't always see the best of Ozil because the dynamics were different. Martin Odegaard's the closest thing to them kind of players in Santi Cazorla. And, the only criticism I would say with Odegaard, I think he turns up in big games, but as reflected yesterday with us winning 5-0 against someone that's, 12th, 13th, maybe Odegaard needs to do better in bigger games, man. Really.
But mate, look at him against Porto. Look at him against Bayern.
I agree. I agree. People will just look at the Chelsea game and they're 12th and say he doesn't turn up in big games. He turned up against Bayern. He turned up yesterday. He'd been turning up in big games. He turned up at Anfield. I think him and Raya were two of our better players. But as you know, once people are agenda driven, Odegaard doesn't fit the image of a typical British football club captain. Even though I think if you watch the games, you can see him. Even in the second half, we talked about changes. There's one time he's telling Declan Rice to press further or telling the team to come with him. But at the end of the day, if If Odegaard keeps doing what he's doing, I don't really care. Before I let you get out of here, though, man, I need to ask your question, your thoughts on a couple of player-related transfer rumors and questions. We've been linked with Elise, Gamarez. What's your thoughts on those two players, and could they add something to Arsenal?
I like Elise. I think he's too similar to Saka.
Really?
In terms of that sort of the way he takes the ball, the way he takes on his man. I think he's very reliable in terms of how he holds onto the ball in the final third. He's more of a kind of the Grealishy side of Saka. That sort of that, you know, he's a brilliant player, and he's more direct than Grealish.
You want more of a pacey,
allowed to be more direct, but he's too. I think he's a brilliant football player who's so technically gifted and probably would be the perfect foil for Saka, but that's not what we need from me. So I really like him. But I think he's a fantastic football player. For someone like a Man United, they should be all in for.
Nah, man, they'll ruin him, man.
Well, yeah, they would.
Well, you could get your signing Rashford if that was the case.
Listen. And Guimaraes, I really like him. My only concerns are about his character a little bit.
Really? We need some bastards, man. He's a bastard, man.
Yeah, but maybe he's the sort of bastard that you love because he plays for you, like Ben White. But I don't know. At the minute, I'm not convinced. I think he's committed, but sometimes I've watched him play and I've thought, no, Ben White's doing it in a slightly. You can tell that there's a gamesmanship to it and a sportsmanship to it. Bruno seems out of control sometimes, and I don't necessarily love that. And look at his discipline record. I think he's committed. I think what we might need, I don't know, but it depends how our midfield shapes up. But I think what we might need is a sort of overall all-rounder. And if you look at the numbers, Scott Willis did a great bit on this the other day. He has everything. He can pass, he can shoot, he can defend, he can set up, he can score goals, set pieces. You know, he's got everything.
So together, bro.
Yeah. He can adapt to certain game states and stuff. And I think he would probably die for Arsenal. You know, if he came to us in the same way he'd die for Newcastle. But I don't know. I think there's more finesse. And also, we're going to be sat against low blocks quite a lot. So, you know, do we need someone who's a bit more, who can unpick those locks a bit more?
I hear that. Give me a prediction for Spurs then before I let you go, man. Do you know what? I'm bullish. I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm going for 2-1 Arsenal. I know it doesn't sound the most optimistic. But yourself?
I think it'll be a really tough game. I think it'll be a really tough, because Spurs will be up for it and they'll want to cause an upset. So
they've had rest as well.
Yeah, I think we'll have to be careful. Yeah, but actually, the rhythm of that sometimes is helpful.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
You know, if they'd had like what, 14 days? Something crazy.
They've had a long time to kind of brew, man.
A long time.
Cobwebs.
It's a long time. So you know, 4 or 5 days is good. When you get into 8-9 days, it's becoming less useful. I think I'm going to go 3-2 to Arsenal. I think it'll be a tough game.
5-goal thriller. Oh my days, man. Let's hope it's the Arsenal away that has been there all season, where it's boring for, you know, really and truly. I can't imagine anyone doesn't know where you're at, people. Again, make sure you're subscribing to the different. No, Alex has a great channel, man. The man's at 60,000. I told him don't come back on this channel until you get 100K. I really think he's going to get that.
And you keep inviting me back.
Yeah, I know, man. Because you know what it is. Because for me, and I'm not just saying this because, you know, you always come on my channel when I ask you to. It's nice to be able to speak to fellow Arsenal fans, or better yet, football fans that apply balance. If there's a reason to be optimistic, you're going to be optimistic. And likewise, I'm not really on this, you know, we've won, we're the best thing since sliced bread, we've lost, we're terrible, everybody out. I mean, to me, we are, but you get where I'm going. So I've got a lot of time, and it's just refreshing to hear difference of opinions and stuff like that. So the door will always be open for you, my dude, man. But let's hear it out the horse's mouth. Where can they find you, man?
Search up The Different Knock on YouTube. Got a video coming out probably tomorrow at this point about Martinelli.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be tuned into that. I'll be in the comments. You're doing yourself a disservice, man. The other channels, bro.
Oh, yes, and the Canon podcast.
Look at him. He doesn't care about them.
No. That's not true. The Canon podcast, you can find me there, and we also go live on Thursday evenings on The Different Knock Live.
Exactly, people. So yeah, man, you know where to find him. There's 3 platforms where you could find Alex's face. I'm pretty sure you lot agree and disagree and have your own thoughts on what we've discussed. So let us know in the comments your thoughts on Arsenal versus Chelsea, the individual performances, and any other talking points we've crossed, man. I'm going to go and let you lot enjoy what's left of your day. Come on, you Gunners. Again, let's keep going, man. Alex, one love, my dude. I'll link up with you in a bit, man. Peace.
Thank you, bro.
Safe.